Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VI. We currently find ourselves being surrounded by a crowd of espers who escaped through the recently unsealed gate and rampaged around the southern continent, destroying Vector in the process. And that's kind of why we're here. We've spoken with Emperor Gestalt previously, and he seems to have committed himself to peace. And he tasked the half-esper Terra and an entourage consisting of Locke, Celeste, and General Leo to head to the Triangle Island to track down the rampaging espers and hopefully try to calm them down. But even though they're closing ranks on us and surrounding us, they don't really seem that out of control or even overtly hostile. Defensive, maybe? But understandably so. In fact, they're sensing something from Terra. Maybe that 500 million espers we've recruited up to this point. Kind of a domino effect starting with Rama. And then everybody else following suit, following his example shortly afterwards. Or it could just be the fact that she herself is half esper. But the fact that they seem to be the empathetic ones, that's astounding to me. What we also learned last time was that the Warring Triad to whom Kefka has referred to before, Kefka wanted to usurp and control their power, we actually learned a lot about them. The Warring Triad were a group of 3 gods who were constantly at war with one another. And they were also implied to be the creators of espers and magic itself. These 3 gods, by the way, have names. They actually have 2 sets of names. The one they will most commonly be referred to are as follows: Demon, Fiend, and Goddess. Now, there's a less boring set of names from them, but in a way it's kind of unofficial because they come from Tetsuya Nomura's concept art. But back then, I guess he envisioned them as being Sophia, the Greek word for wisdom. God, I almost said wisdom. Oh my god, that can't become a thing. Oh shit. Only people who caught that Darkest Dungeon stream will know. Fuck, wisdom can't become a meme for the channel. Oh, it kills me. Fine. Greek word for wisdom. Zervan, a Zoroastrian god. And finally, the last one was going to be named Sephiroth. Yep. And we seem to have worked things out pretty well with the espers. Must put all this behind us. They're strangely apologetic. We're even resolving some of the tension between Locke and Celeste over her conflicting loyalties, or even the appearance of that conflict as it's been. Those 2 are hot and heavy, huh? That is such weird phrasing to come out of this little girl. She's like 10. But, oh, and we know that laugh. Kefka was previously imprisoned in Vector, while we were in our negotiations with Emperor Gestalt. He has somehow gotten free, and brought with him a detachment of Imperial Magitech soldiers. So just as we were getting a little lighthearted moment when everything seemed to be drawing near a resolution, here comes Kefka. And if you thought, man, we must be getting pretty close to the end of the game, then the game gotcha. We're coming up on maybe the halfway point, but the halfway point has its own built-in climax. FF6 does this superb job of building to these really, really wonderful highs, these dips, and then these tremendous peaks over and over. It's such a well-paced story. And that right there is a couple of Espers being murdered. And you know, it's kind of funny because Kefka wouldn't know to kill the Espers to reduce them to the basest Magicite form had we not gone and intruded in the Magitech research facility in the first place. Would have prolonged the suffering of the Espers who were trapped there, but the raw Magicite that Kefka learned to harness is a lot more powerful than whatever he was harnessing before. So we've inadvertently caused some problems, and we've maybe put our trust in a couple of people who we had no good reason to be trusting in the first place. But with the rest of the party knocked out, the only one we have available is Leo, the first and only time that we get to play as General Leo in what it amounts to a scripted sequence. It's not quite scripted. You can, I think, fail this, but you have to put a tremendous amount of effort into failing it. So he has an attack, kind of a souped-up Genji glove, which attacks 4 times, and then he has that multi-target shock, which, even though it's an AoE, it still does way more than the attack command. And you can tell that Kefka is not playing around because he's in his proper battle sprite. Even though, again, we can't really fail this fight. And it looks like we won. Leo, always the consummate soldier. At least Leo finally did something. For a while there, he was just watching Kefka kill all the Espers. So we didn't really win. Kefka just disappeared, and look at that, he's calling on the assistance of Emperor Gestahl, who appears out of thin air. So for the time being, it looks like the inevitable happened and Emperor Gestahl betrayed us. Who could have possibly seen that coming? No, I didn't. Oh man, this is reminding me, as if I couldn't like this game anymore. Remember what I was saying about constraint and creativity? I mean, I talk about that a lot, but I brought it up again earlier on in the LP. There is, oh, hold on. Oh, it was just Kefka. It was just a simple illusion. Right? Yeah, no, it was just an illusion. Emperor Gestahl would never betray us. And that is the end of General Leo. There's a rumor as old as this game that through some arcane sequence of events, you can actually resurrect General Leo and make him a permanent party member. That is complete horseshit. You can't do that. But as a sidebar, I do miss those days of like gonzo rumors and wild goose chases. Hunts for like stupidly well-hidden Easter eggs. I got so much joy out of it when that kind of came back with the pendant in Dark Souls 1. But it's too rare nowadays. I miss people driving themselves insane trying to figure out stuff like, how do I do animalities in Mortal Kombat 2? Because someone's best friend's cousin's uncle's half-brother sat 3 rows back from Ed Boon on a flight from BC to Chicago. And he definitely might have overheard that it's a secret in the game. That shit was the best. And people really, truly believed that those things were possible. That was special. Where you didn't understand games so well, and you weren't so into like the behind the scenes and the data mining and in the know, so everything seemed possible. It was kind of magical. I miss that. But things are about to get a lot more heavy around here. With Kefka's apparent triumph, knocked the rest of the party out, killed General Leo, and he is going on an Esper massacre. Oh shit, I never finished that thought. Oh no. Oh, okay, I remember what I was going in on. I was reading an article. This was about constrained creativity and stuff. I was reading an interview about the making of FF6 with Yoshinori Kitase, the director of the game. And that is exactly one of the sentiments that he was expressing, where he misses the constraints of limited cartridges and limited memory. Because, I think as he put it, too much freedom can be more creatively limiting, weirdly enough. That is oh, I love this Ifrit sprite so much more than the one we actually get to use. This is the red and orange tinge. That is a man who gets it. As if I couldn't like the game anymore. And this Ifrit is throwing everything he has at Kefka. Kefka's tanking it. It's not just tanking it, he's absorbing it. And oh my god. How much magicite is he collecting now? An enormous amount, I'll tell you that much. And Kefka was kind of a pushover in combat before, but he could put up a little bit of a fight. But with all of this magicite, holy shit, he's on the verge of becoming insanely powerful. And here comes our nice big ramp up once again. We had that nice release of tension, that dip in the action, and now this huge, climactic, dramatic spike once again. I don't think there's, as much as I will talk about how much I love Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX, I don't think there has ever been a Final Fantasy with pacing as perfect as Final Fantasy VI. I think in some ways it's easier to go back to Final Fantasy VI than it is any of the other really good ones from the classic era. Just because they have such a mastery of that peaks and valley style of pacing. Like, we're only building up to the midpoint climax here, and the stakes already feel so high. An interceptor comes along, gravely wounded. Poor pupper. Realm volunteers to take care of him, though. This is the first time I think we've seen Interceptor completely separated from Shadow, though, which is interesting. And looks like Setzer and Sid have fixed up the airship. Now we find out the truth. For a second, it was looking like maybe the Emperor betrayed us, maybe he didn't because of the illusion with Kefka. Now we have confirmation that he absolutely 100% let Kefka go on that rampage just now. He let him out of the prison in Vector, and he was behind all of this. Again, real obvious shit. They didn't do a whole lot to disguise his duplicity or his intentions. That sudden shift in tone and character for him kind of gives it away. So, Edgar's got a pretty good idea. We're going to return to the airship, plan things out. Then, oh yeah, and Strago's going to come along now. His introduction to the rest of the group. Then we can figure out how to deal with the rest of this. I was reading an old character design interview. Edgar made me think of this. The level of thought that goes into each detail is kind of difficult to believe. Like, have you noticed how Edgar has his hair tied back with a blue ribbon? Of course, that detail doesn't really stand out. Like, if you asked me at any other point in the game before I had read this interview what color that ribbon was, or even that he, like, oh man, or even what was tying his hair back, I probably wouldn't even be able to guess, because it's a detail that I just take for granted. But there's a reason for it. Figaro is a desert country. And being so, they have a certain appreciation for the sun and water. So yellow and blue are sacred colors in Figaro. King Edgar, King of Figaro, blonde hair tied back with a blue ribbon. Goddamn. Small detail with a lot of thought put into it. So anyway, we are back aboard the airship. And something immediately seems wrong. First off, Emperor Gestahl and his right-hand man, Kefka, are right on the cusp of the sealed gate that we kind of unsealed for them. And since we gathered all the Espers in one place and kind of got them to lower their guards a bit, the entrance to the sealed gate's wide open for them. We got played. We got played really badly. And things are about to get much, much, much worse. The land itself cracks and drifts apart. And what the hell is that? Oh man! The best part of the first half of the game is coming up. And that looks awesome! That looks so good. The continent itself is floating away. And upon the floating continent, at the cusp of the sealed gate, we find these three statues representing the Warring Triad. This is fucking radical. Oh my god, I can't stand how good it is. The beginning of all magic, the Warring Triad. So, yeah, they were at war with one another for, what was it, centuries, millennia? Those three statues should ever be moved out of alignment. The resulting imbalance of power would rip our planet apart. This is where I get some really, really, Chrono Trigger vibes. Goosebumps. And yeah, let's let this little girl take the wheel. Pilot us off to the floating continent. So we only have 3 people allowed in our party, conveniently leaving a 4th spot open. I'm going to take a couple of minutes and really think through my preparations for the upcoming final dungeon of Act 1. So I'll see you in a minute while I kind of puzzle this one out. Alright, so we're leading off with Edgar, Terra, and Celeste. Gives us a lot of flexibility, a lot of damage output, and every member of the cast is capable of some good healing as well. Handy right off the bat here. So what we want to do is we want to walk around the ship, maybe try to take the wheel, head to the front or the back of the ship, and try to trigger some of these random battles, which aren't all that random. There are 4 or 5 of them, I believe, against some of the Magitech drones, the Spitfires, the Sky Armors, that we have to take care of before we get to a series of boss fights and eventually the floating continent. So since all of them are kind of the same, why don't we get rolling into the boss fights? Alright, this should be the final set of encounters. Again, same enemies every time, sometimes in different formations and different amounts, but the important thing to note is that we are always going to be in the middle of a pincer attack. So that negates our 50% damage reduction from being in the back row. But I think that also negates the penalty to our damage dealt with the attack command. Not that that matters too much for the party that we're rolling with. And Thunder, of course, is always going to be a good option against these mechanical Magitech drones. And with that out of the way, now we just want to head to the back of the ship, where we see an unfamiliar face carrying a very familiar face. Ultros. Weirdly enough, as the game goes on, the Ultros fights tend to get a lot easier. His attack patterns become less complex, and his damage output doesn't really scale to you all that well. So let's just get Carbuncle out here. I'm not sure if he can... Oh, wow. Never mind. I was gonna say, I don't think this will help, but might as well see him anyway. Same thing with Carbuncle. I'm not sure if we have anything that we really can reflect. I think Demon Eye puts the break status on them. But yeah, neither of them appear to be susceptible to that. So for this Ultros fight, we're fighting both him and Typhon, neither of which are very formidable. So even with twice the enemies in this Ultros fight, it's not a big deal. The second fight is destined to go down as the one that we had the hardest time with. Man, fire annihilates him. And with that out of the way, all we have to do is deal with Typhon back here. And once we get Typhon low enough... Oh, I was worried that the Thunder spell was actually going to heal him. So that's good. Can we do a little bit more damage with maybe Fyra or Blizzara? Oh shit, that actually healed him. I did not realize what Typhon's elemental affinity was. Whoops. It's almost a good thing that I only have Thundara on Celeste. Well, guess we're rocking that. You see, he's barely done anything to us. He's actually more of a plot boss. He's here to progress the plot once we get him low enough on HP. You see, we've actually gotten pretty close to the floating continent. And once we reduce his HP enough, should be on this Thundara, probably. He'll snort. He'll snort and sneeze us right off the deck of the ship. And we're not done with the series of boss fights yet, so we fought Ultros, we fought Typhon. Now, it's time for this goofy-looking airship. We fight as we're falling down to the floating continent, which is really cool. So I think the missile bays are on the front. I think the... Oh man, is it the top left? There are also the laser pods that you can shoot down. I think you're probably best off going for the main body of this thing. The missile pods, if you destroy them, you can no longer fire the missiles at you. They don't actually do all that much damage. He gains, I think, a really nasty attack if you destroy either the missile pods or the laser gun. But really, you just want to go for the main body of Air Force. Unless, for some reason, you're having a really hard time withstanding the extra attacks from the other parts of the boss, from the other segments. But a couple, like, 2,000-3,000 damage Thundaras, you're good to go. This is no time to celebrate. I did learn bio. It's not going to come in handy right away. There are going to be some uses for that. Warring Triad are just ahead, along with Gestalt and Kefka. And this is probably going to be a good time to take a nap. Nothing dire is going on. We can afford to sleep. Rest up. And look who we found. Wounded Interceptor came up to us earlier, and we finally found what's going on with Shadow. Shadow feels like he's been made a fool of, because the Empire hired him to accompany us in the first place. So he, just like everyone else here, was betrayed by them. And this is why we had we could only select 3 people to be in our party. Because they were leaving 1 slot open, so we could re-recruit Shadow. Who's gonna come in handy here? Trying to do this dungeon with only 3 people? God, that would be grueling. There are an enormous amount of really, really strong enemies here. And the toughest boss fight yet coming up at the end of this. Oh, please. Please, nobody be a multiple of level 5. I have to try to remember what all the elemental affinities are. I was worried that that guy might be fire-based. Seems we're okay. Oh, what do the brain pans do? They look like the heads of some of the Zozo ninjas. And then we also have Misfits coming back. So we have Confusion that we have to worry about here. We have, I think, Break, Stop, Petrify, and Berserk statuses that can be applied in this dungeon. Also, some of the enemies just generally hit really hard if you don't take them out right away. But we have ample opportunities. We're not going to be doing too much heavy AoE like before. Like, we're certainly not going to be using Flash from Edgar very much, because it's worth taking one out at a time in most cases. Once we've whittled them down, we could start to AoE the remaining ones a little bit. But really, you want to thin out as many of the threats as you can. We learned Reflect, we learned Break. This is good. Good, good, good. So that's going to be one of the gimmicks of the dungeon, are these walls that we have to come up to and kind of break through. Oh, Mirasame. I think that increases your evasion, or the evasion of whoever equips it. Holy shit. This thing could not be more screwed. Getting pincered, and there's only one of them? And it's a preemptive attack? Soon enough, we'll see one of the other gimmicks of the dungeon, which is this. These teleportation holes in the ground. Or these transportation networks. Kind of like Nidus worms. And we also have switches that we have to hit to open parts of the dungeon up. And really, that means it's only a matter of time before I become hopelessly lost in this dungeon. Can cross over that. Yeah, silence is another bad one. Luckily, that wears off between battles. So we have a network of holes that we're teleporting around through. We have a lot of switches to hit. Yeah. Keeping all of this straight, I can never do it. Hey, there we go. We have 2 ninjas. These are probably some of the strongest enemies in here. They do insanely high AoE damage. And really nothing else, but that's enough. They're also very durable. 2 of them attacking in a row does a number on you. Luckily, we have a lot of cures. Almost everybody in the party can group heal. So you're never left without some kind of healer with this group setup. Because we took the time to teach everybody Cure and Cura. Except Shadow, I think. Shadow, I'm pretty sure, has at least Cure, though. Okay, so let's see. Can't go left from here. Luckily, even if I do get lost and I wind up just hopelessly running around until we find a path forward, there's not too much important treasure to miss out on in this dungeon. So you can kind of wander around without fear of missing out on stuff. I don't think I'm too far off the rails yet, though. Holy shit, that was like 3 steps. Ooh, yeah, our first look at a behemoth. I only have one Fuma Shuriken right now, so we're gonna stick to regular ones. He's not quite tough enough to be called a mini-boss, so we still have to be careful. He's a little bit of a threat, but I think we should get through him relatively unscathed. This is his favorite thing to do, counterattack with takedown. But if we can just keep up the pressure, he does have a huge health pool, but as long as he is not accompanied by anything, it's second turn, kill. Totally fine. I think it has Thundaga, but I could be wrong. I actually forget a lot of details about the basic enemies of this game. Just one again, okay. So we're fine, he's gonna start off with a takedown. Ooh, that was a lot on Shadow. Eee, shit, that hurts. He started off with a takedown and then did a counterattack takedown. Use counterattack in every turn this time. I think it's a lot like Megavolt or Gigavolt, where it has a percent chance to trigger. Rather than being a reliable, like 100% of the time, he's gonna do this to you. Gonna top ourselves off. Because it was getting a little bit scary for a minute. Yeah. As long as you treat the enemies here with care, you can get through to the boss of the area with minimal trouble. If you get too lost, though, and you encounter too many random battles, and this becomes a war of attrition, that's when things get real sketchy. Because as you start to run out of MP for cures and curas, and you have to rely more on potions and stuff out of battle, that's when you can get into a little bit of danger. I think we're coming down here. Is there another button I had to hit? I don't think so. Should have drawn myself a map. Hey, Platinum Dragons. I think these are the last enemy types that we have not yet seen in the dungeon. I want to say that they are somewhat elemental resistant, but I don't remember too much else about them. So we're going to treat them with kind of the standard level of care and focus fire down one at a time. I think that fire might have been a lot of overkill. So far, we're not seeing anything too dangerous. So, since we're thinning out their numbers a little bit, we can rely on the single target of Edgar and Shadow, and then it's probably safe to multi-target them down with Celeste and Terra, but we're good to go. Warp, Shell, Death. Shell is useful to us. I think I am now lost. Okay, now that I've worked my way over to the right edge of the floating continent, got myself reoriented finally. So when we drop down here, we get a nice save point, which means an opportunity to tent up. Which is an invaluable thing to have available to us. Because again, the war of attrition can be a problem for you going through the floating continent if you get lost like I did. We're back on track though. We can come up from the save point. We're back on track though, as long as we come up here, hit this button. That opens the way to, I think, our final teleport pad, which is gonna go off to a dead end. It's gonna lead us towards the end of the dungeon. I think we're going down and towards... Oh yeah, and we get the opportunity to return to the airship right now. So that's a good indication that we're on the right path. And we're coming to the dead end up ahead. Seems like we got... Oh shit, this is really bad. Misfits, if they want to play nice, won't be a problem. Then all we have to worry about is takedowns from the behemoth. If they're not playing nice, then we're gonna get some status effects. Seems okay for now. They don't have a lot of health, So there's one more Thundara, should do the trick. Oh, shit. Okay, well, we had a drill locked and loaded and ready to go. Now it's just a matter of whittling down the last behemoth in the way of our floating continent boss fight. One I'm sure a lot of you are looking forward to. I think it's gonna take an extra round of attacks because of the misfits that we had to AoE. That might do it? Oh, not quite. Oh no, it got one more revenge attack off right before it died. So let's... If I take 2 steps towards this boss and get another random encounter, I'd be pissed. Topped up. Who do we have here? Ultima weapon. My name is Ultima. I am power both ancient and unrivaled. I do not bleed, for I am strength given form. Feeble creatures of flesh die. The midpoint finale boss is Ultima weapon. And this is a fucking dangerous fight. He has a slew of abilities, and that slew of abilities only grows as the fight goes on. I don't think it was the right time to use Unicorn. It was almost certainly not. Barely any damage on us. I think that we might have an AoE from him by now. He can flare, he can meteor. He's got a lot of powerful magic. Even his basic attacks tend to hurt quite a bit. And this fight will last a while. He has a bunch of different phases triggered at different health thresholds. The important thing is to keep Reflect on early on and to try to slow him down. I know we had slow on someone. Because eventually, as the fight goes on, he will haste himself. And he already starts out pretty fast. Like, he can take a lot of turns. Slowing him down and then later on negating his own haste is very important. Luckily, we get to reflect his flare. Not all of his attacks, not all of his spells from later phases will be reflectable. Well, that was I didn't think about that. We're gonna get that slow coming out, though. We really only healed him for 800 by reflecting the Cura, though. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. And Reflect is gonna wear off pretty soon. Once it does, I'm not gonna reapply it because we're gonna need some big heals coming in. Morph Terra, because now is when we want to start to burn him. Her damage output is gonna skyrocket now. Okay, Firestorm is a bad one. Should do about 700 to everybody. Mist Celeste, yeah! 4K from Terra, not bad whatsoever. Still even have a Reflect up. I think it should be wearing off pretty soon. I hope. Yeah, there it goes. Just trying to keep track of that in my head. I actually got really lucky there. It's just a few hundred damage, but hey, why not? We get another Cura off just to make sure, make absolutely sure Edgar doesn't have a lot of use for the MP anyway. Keep everybody above 1,000, and we are good. We are totally good. So now with that over, something I didn't know that kind of surprised me, I found out recently, was apparently a chunk of the sprites, namely a lot of those spell effects we saw, weren't actually hand-drawn pixel art. They were converted from a 3D model into a sprite. Oh, and there goes Shadow once again. Well, Shadow's got his own agenda to pursue. I have honestly no idea if that was like a super common technique back in that era. I'd always just assumed all of the Super Nintendo sprites with some really clear exceptions that are more or less obvious to the naked eye, were hand-drawn. And I'm wondering if anyone out there has any experience with this kind of sprite art. If they would like to chime in, because it's certainly something that I would be happy to hear more about. I would always love to hear more about how classic pixel art was made. And how, like, some of the techniques that were used to expedite the process, making these really elaborate, detailed, well-shaded sprites. I'd love to hear from any pixel artists who just want to provide some insight into the process. So Shadow, for the time being, is taking a leave. Edgar and Terra are temporarily paralyzed, taken out of the action. Are we gonna get a grand betrayal from Celeste, who's been offered an inn? A way to atone for her betrayal. All she has to do is kill Terra and Edgar. Power only breeds war. So it seems like she's not gonna betray us. But holy shit, she is gonna stab Kefka. Look at that, look at Celeste go. Fortunately, it does not kill him. Doesn't seem to particularly faze him either, though he is bleeding. I don't think that line appears in the SNES version amid a lot of the Super Nintendo censorship. So now Kefka is calling upon the power of the Warring Triad. But nothing's happening. Well, wait. No. Complete false start. Gestalt, however, does not want Kefka reviving the Warring Triad, because he knows that it will destroy the world, and that he doesn't want to just be king of the ashes. So finally, we have conflict between Kefka and Gestalt himself. Madness is a big motif with Kefka. Does make you wonder what Gestalt's motive for seeking out the Warring Triad was in the first place, especially since he knew Kefka would try to harness their power, or not even harness it, unleash it. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like Kefka really knows how. And Gestalt tried to use Firaga, didn't appear to do anything. He's gonna try to use Flare, and again, nothing. That arrogant little finger wag. It's like 2 pixels, but it's so emotive. Finally, Meltdown, for the 3rd time, does nothing. It's a good question. How did he do it? Kefka's kicking everybody's ass in the Empire today. First Leo, now Gestalt. It appears, once again, Kefka knows a little bit more than he let on. Since we're in the middle of the Warring Triad, they're absorbing all of the magic that Gestalt was trying to use. He's now once again calling upon them to fry the Emperor. I really like that lightning bolt effect. It's simple, but it's a really good spell effect. It's not even the bolt itself, it's the sparks that kind of radiate around the ground and then slowly dissipate. Bingo. That last one nailed him. It's like, what's he gonna do? Kick him off of the continent? There will be no one to worship us. And yeah, that's exactly what Kefka's gonna do. He's gonna kick him right off, or shove him. Yeah, so if Gasol couldn't stop him, Celeste wasn't much of a match either. So remember what was said before. If their alignment was disturbed, it would tear the world in half. So all Kefka is trying to do is throw them out of whack. Nope. Did you hear that? Hey, look at this cool guy. This is a moment that Shadow really needed. Everybody's broken free of their Mega Man X Vile restraints. So now we're good to go. Oh, shit. We botched it. But Shadow's gonna stay behind. Keep Kefka busy while we get off of the floating continent. Before whatever is keeping this continent afloat gives way and it comes crashing to the ground. So we now have 6 minutes to get our asses out of here before the entire continent comes crashing down. With us on it. And luckily it's pretty hard to get lost in the escape sequence. It's not nearly as difficult to navigate as it was getting here. Oh shit. Whoops. I don't think I did any damage to it prior for that heal to matter, so... Okay, lightning's good. Drill incoming. But everybody's silenced. I don't think this will take more than 2 hits, though. Nah. Those are not durable enemies. Our retreat path is populated with new enemy types. Mainly, I think the one that we just fought. Yeah, like that. I think they can only come in configurations of like 1 to maybe 3 at the max. Which is very easy to AoE down. They want to make sure that they're not taking up too much of your time with random battles so you can safely escape. The timer is not really a hard one to meet. And these sections where chunks of the continent are falling away, that's all scripted. We gotta motor along. We can't go that way anymore. And we missed whatever that item was. I think that might be a monster in a box with a big Gygus encounter. And that might actually result in a Gygus glove that we're not gonna get. This Galapa is, I think, meant to be a boss. It starts the fight off casting a 35-second doom on the entire party. And because the animation takes so long, it drains a lot of your timer as well. Aside from that, this thing is gonna die in roughly the same... Oh shit, it starts with Reflect as well. Well, it's still not gonna last long. Well, that fire is gonna hurt. Oh shit, it knocked Terra out. I already had the fire queued up before it occurred to me that the Reflect was on it. Either way, that's not a problem. It doesn't have a huge health pool. Whoops. And this is it. This is the end of the escape sequence. We have almost 2.5 minutes to spare. But we don't actually want to jump aboard the ship yet. Instead, this is a good chance to just heal Terra up. Because why not? But at any point, we could jump. But remember, Shadow said that he would be along. And we just have to take it on faith and wait for him. Shadow's taking his sweet time. Once the countdown dips below 5 seconds, Shadow comes along, the last second, and we are free to jump down to the airship. This is how you save Shadow. If you leave prematurely, no matter how much time you have remaining, if you leave before Shadow shows up, Shadow will die. You will lose him permanently. Just for being impatient. However, if you hang around too long, like if you're in the menu or if you're in the middle of a random battle, for the last 5 seconds of that countdown, you go down with the continent. Oh shit. Holy shit. On that day, the world was changed forever. How's that? The end of the world for the midpoint of the game. That's gonna do it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one. Hope to see you next time.